You are listening to the Enormocast.
One would think that a dirtbag like Alex Honnold would sit back and let that sweet, sweet free solo money wash over him, like the sweat washed over your armpits watching him paddle up the free blast sans rope. Didn't look exactly solid, did it? But he ain't partying with DiCaprio quite yet. Instead, he's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on the Honnold Foundation, his nonprofit dedicated to creating equity through solar projects around the globe. And now Black Diamond is giving you a swank opportunity to get on board with the Honnold signature chalk bag and solution harness. What's the chalk bag like? Well, I've got one. It holds chalk. Sits there for when you're sweaty. No dumb pockets or zippers or anything. And the solution harness, well, Alex Honnold doesn't always climb in a harness, but when he does, it's a solution. But most importantly, the Honnold Foundation gets a kickback from BD every time you buy a Honnold signature product. So check them out at blackdiamondequipment.com or your favorite local shop. And if you don't want commerce getting in the way of your giving, donate directly at honnoldfoundation.com and keep that ratty old harness that scares your partners.
We gotta get
Listen, where you playing in town? You playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
big
big
house. We
place
sold
that
it out.
side of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold it out.
20,000
seats.
We really should.
The hell are you doing? I couldn't sleep. I'm checking the ropes. There was a frayed end on your rope, and I'm cutting it out.
Good weather, bad weather. Now or later, anytime. Good time.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And the fine folks at La Sportiva. And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enormo at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is December 26th, 2018, about 9:30 Central Time, doing my annual remote cast from Wisconsin. And this is episode 166 of the Enormocast, a long overdue and somewhat archived episode with Mr. James Lucas. And on the episode, we say that it's his third appearance on the Enormocast, but it's actually his fourth. This is a fourth appearance by James Lucas, and I don't know if that puts him at the top. Some of the other frequent guests were Mr. Hayden Kennedy, Andrew Bisharat's been on quite a few times, so he's right in there with those guys. But this is certainly the only guest to get 4 of his own episodes. And before we get to that, the 7th anniversary of the Enormocast went by without note at the beginning of this month. With, I guess the Adam Andra episode would have been the anniversary episode. So pretty wild that this thing's been going on for 7 years. And we're here at the end of 2018. So I just want to thank everybody for listening, for continuing to make it what it is. If you guys weren't listening, I wouldn't be making it. So, yeah, thanks to you. Thanks to Enormocast Nation. All right. 4th installment here of the life and times of James Lucas. He's been a regular on the show, as I mentioned, and if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, if you're not a long-time listener to the show, it might be worth listening to those. Maybe after this one, go back and you'll find out how much James has changed from the beginning of the Enormocast all the way till now. Quite a big change. You long-time listeners will hardly recognize the guy I interviewed in this one. And this is actually an interview that's been sitting on the shelf for several months. Actually goes way back to May or April. And I don't know what happened, but I kind of shelved it because I had a bunch of stuff in the backlog already, and then, I don't know, just never got put out. So things are pretty steady and consistent in James's life since we recorded this way back in April, I believe, or May. Still has the girlfriend, still has the job, still has the roof over his head. I believe the ProMaster is running just fine. The one change I should mention is that he did fire Midnight Lightning this year, and he has a long and sordid past with that Boulder problem. Okay, let's get to it. The 4th installment of the life and times of James Lucas. You're an Enormocast celebrity for
Yeah.
sure.
I get people asking me when I'm going to do another Enormocast. They get all excited about it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the one with the pie was so good.
Yeah, the pies, man. That's kind of like...
The pie thing was like a really good bracket. And I kind of figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good racket. I knew that someone would be interested in it, and I also knew that'd be good with the ladies.
Yeah. How was your pie? How is your pie baking these days?
Pretty much non-existent.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
man, people are gonna be disappointed.
yeah. Well, I got a girlfriend, and I also moved to Boulder, and so I'm like trying to get an eating disorder.
Oh, the pie is not
Yeah.
fitting into your new training regimen.
Yeah. When I was like making a lot of pies, I remember I was in Bishop and I had like a pie tasting one day. And I had my friend Paul Barraza. Do you know him at all?
No.
He's kind of like an old school Boulder and used to climb around rifle and stuff. He lives in the Bay Area now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to like do a couple of like V7s, like getting kind of close to him. And he came over for like a pie tasting with his wife Lynn, and as he left, he's like, you could probably do these if you didn't eat so much pie.
I was gonna say, that famous, possibly apocryphal story of JB telling Christian and those guys that they were too fat. It was an old famous climbing magazine article, I think. It was in one of the magazines, but it was about how Christian and Dale Goddard and somebody else went to France, and like early sport climbing, like when they basically went to France,
right,
and then came home and they were like, we have to start putting bolts in,
rat bolt the world.
And so while they were there, and this is an old story, is that they basically, JB supposedly told them they were all too fat, which is ridiculous because like Dale Goddard's famously skinny.
Yeah, he's super thin.
Yeah, and so and they took it to heart. Where they were eating like almost nothing and like drinking no water. And then of course Christian blows out his finger, like trying to do some route at Bukes. But it turns out that supposedly like it was fully JB just taking the piss out of him. Just like, I'm going to like fuck with these Americans, get them off the track because.
Nice.
Yeah. So he like made some comment about him being too fat, and then they went ahead and got so skinny that they could hardly climb anymore.
Right, classic American style.
Yeah,
totally. Or you're like really insecure and someone finds like a little bit of your insecurity and blows it up.
Totally. So, anyway, so there you go. That was kind of maybe your boy's like little comment was just out the door. He's like going to throw a dart in your confidence. Just hit you up. So, so no pies at the moment.
So no pies.
But you can you can just call upon those skills.
Yeah. It's not something you like lose. It's not like, oh, fuck, I forgot how to ride a bike.
Yeah, or bake a pie.
Or bake a pie,
right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's talk about this. Some of these things, there's like the James Lucas of legend.
Right.
And then, like, some of these things don't compute that well. Like, to tell me that you're actually literally dieting for climbing just seems a little bit contradictory to your sort of legend. That
Really?
I think so. I mean, like you seemed a little more, I don't know, like happy-go-lucky about just the performance end of things. So now you're a little more focused and intense, and maybe like should a dirtbag be? Shouldn't they just be eating whatever they could get their hands on? It's like when you're dumpster diving or whatnot.
Right.
You're not really like, oh, that perfectly good pasta, I can't take that. Is there any kale in here that's not spoiled?
See, I guess that's the one.
But that's not really, maybe not even anything you ever did.
Yeah, I think I made this impression that I was like a really big dirtbag, and what I was a really dedicated rock climber, right? And so it's like I was doing whatever I could to climb, right? And now I'm still doing the same thing, where I'm like, I really want to climb, right? And I want to climb better. I want to like climb harder. Okay, what do I need to do? What's like the smart choice for me? Now, all of a sudden, there's gyms available, more training available. It's like smarter to get better at climbing by not being a dirtbag. And so I trying to like minimize my dirtbag lifestyle as much as possible and maximize my actual rock climbing time.
Well, that's an interesting thing. I think you may have gotten in touch with me having listened to it, but we had a big discussion here on the Enormocast earlier this year about dirtbags.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember sitting there and maybe you came up. I can't remember in the conversation.
Yeah.
But
I got a little shout out. I was so excited.
Well, we were, you get whole episodes, man. You don't have to you don't need the peanuts of shout outs on the Enormocast. You get your own episodes. This is your third one.
I was at the,
or is this your fourth one?
Third, fourth.
I think it's your third.
Yeah. I was at the Austin premiere of the Donwall movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, the theater was packed. Like Josh Lowell's there, Brett Lowell. I'm sitting next to Alex Honnold. Like Tommy's there, Kevin's there. Everybody's like there and psyched. And it's all like quiet and they're doing a bunch of footage of people like walking up for the stand. I'm like in a like half second of footage and Honnold like nudged me really hard. I went, "That's me!"
You just flew.
I was just like so excited.
And did you?
It's like anytime I get any sort of like little acknowledgement, I'm like, oh my god.
Nice. Is that all there? Is that all? Was all of you in the film? Was there more of you in the movie?
Well, there was like a bunch of me. It was like you could see my head and my face and my chest, and I was like walking up to the top of El Cap with a backpack on.
Did you get to be like a talking head?
Oh no.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Those guys really blew it.
Totally. They don't know. I mean, they should have talked to me.
Yeah.
Like your name's money on the Enormocast. Like people bug me all the time about having you on this thing.
Yeah.
Again.
It's so
let's go back to this idea about this dirtbag thing, because you're right. Like somehow it was the movie. There was a movie. You were the last dirtbag in the movie.
Yeah, Cedar made a movie about me.
And I think maybe partially because of the Enormocast, like you got this reputation or this as this like spokesperson for like dirtbag dumb,
right?
And yet you're right, and I think part of our discussion about, at least my angle when we were talking about dirtbags, is that it's all kind of like this myth. It's all like this like idea that, or this ideal rather, that like almost maybe doesn't quite exist. And in its purest form.
Right.
And I think we mentioned that, like, if you really want to be a really good rock climber, like, the dirtbag lifestyle is probably not going to get you there.
Nope.
And so you're sort of like an example of that at this moment.
Right.
Is what you're saying. Like,
like I finally figured it out.
Right.
It only took me like 7 years of living in a car.
Yeah, but, there's obviously you had other rewards besides just pure performance. Because if you want to be a pure performance climber, then you can live an ascetic lifestyle of gym training all the time, but that's no fun. You know what I mean? So performance is obviously this one thing that hovers over, I think, climbing for, if not all, but most or a lot of climbers.
Right.
Performance, whether it's from 5'9" to 5'10", or whether it's V2 to V3, there's this idea that you're always trying to improve, but it's only one aspect of it.
Right.
But now you're trying to maximize this.
Yeah. I'm getting old.
Yeah. You are? How old are you?
I'm 36.
Yeah, that's pretty old, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I'm not as old as like
me.
Yeah, I'm not as old as you, but I'm definitely like, oh fuck, okay, I just like blew all this time rock climbing. I have to like think about what I want to do with the rest of my life, where I want my climbing to go, other aspects of my life. Do I want a girlfriend? Do I want to get married? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to have a house, go on vacation?
Dude, you're bumming us out.
Should I get a dog?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, you've got some of those things, right?
I've got a girlfriend.
You've got a girlfriend. Yeah.
I got a van.
Yeah, you got a van.
I got a job.
You got a job.
Yep. Yep.
How's that all going?
It's okay. I mean, I go in late, but I make up for it by leaving early. It's actually been really challenging, It's like going from a dirtbag lifestyle where you've got like a lot of free time and you can like do whatever you want, to all of a sudden in a desk in a cubicle staring at Microsoft Word for like 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, how am I going to handle this transition?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been pretty cool. I mean, it's nice to like be focusing on getting better at something. I really, really like storytelling. And so it's been really rewarding for me to get better at it and get better at writing. So I've been psyched on that. But I mean, it's still a job. You know, there's lots of times I'm not that psyched. You know, I'm like going to work anyway. It's like, oh fuck, get there at like 9, and then at 10 I'm like, oh, it's an hour, and that's good. I've only got 4 more hours until I have to do like 3 hours of work.
Yeah, but so who's teaching you? I mean, when you're saying you're getting better at writing, I have 2 questions. Who's teaching you? And B, thing about like churning out a magazine,
Mm-hmm.
especially kind of on a, you know, you guys have a pretty small staff.
Right.
It's been cut to the bone.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like when you're talking about writing, it's also churning out words.
Mm-hmm.
It's fast and you get a little bit of time to mess with them and then off they go.
Yep.
You know, so tell me about that experience with when you're talking about getting better at storytelling. What's the process there and how is that working for you?
Right. Well, I mean, it's sort of like anything else that you want to get better at. You want to get better at rock climbing. Then the best thing to do is do a bunch of rock climbing.
Right.
Right. And so with the writing, it's like you want to get better at writing. You do a bunch of writing.
Right.
Right. And then you want to get better at rock climbing. You climb certain routes. You hang out with like other climbers and you go through like the pecking order of people being like, oh, you're too fat. Or like, oh, you should be climbing trad. Or like, oh, you know, go to rifle. Oh, climb like this, climb like that. Oh, you need to be backstepping. You need to be dropping. And then it's like, okay, you need to like use an Oxford comma. You should be thinking about the lead. You should be thinking about like the story structure. You should be thinking about the arc. Let's get rid of all these fucking cliches, you know? And so you just, one of the nice things about having rock climbed for so long is learned how to get better at one thing. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, I'll apply it to writing. And so a big part of it has just been like writing on a regular basis about anything. Mm-hmm. Usually, like pretty much always relating to rock climbing, but it could be about like rock climbers in Puerto Rico. It could be about Joe Kinder doing Life of Villain. It could be about eating disorders. It could be kind of about anything. And so I'm like constantly have these different subjects and different lengths. And so just working on stuff a lot. And that'll make you better. And then I also get a lot of criticism from Matt Samet, who's the editor, who's like a longtime climber and has been in the climbing. This is his second time as the editor of Climbing Magazine.
Right.
And he's been doing it a long time. He's an old hand at it and quite a good writer. And then also just get a lot of criticism from readers.
That must feel great.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. It's gotten a lot better in the past 2 years, but like, yeah, I got some criticism. Probably more. I got more criticism in Yosemite from like other climbers.
Mm-hmm.
Or just like, oh, you're a fucking dirtbag, or you know, just taking the piss.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, for someone to criticize an article I wrote, they have to go to the effort of reading it.
Well, that's sort of true.
Yeah, I mean,
plenty of people criticize crap that they haven't watched, seen.
Yeah.
They just heard about it.
Yeah,
right?
They definitely have to like read the title at least.
They have to engage.
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas
and
like
get on their computer and you know, type it out. Well, so I have a question actually, and I should ask Matt this, but I haven't seen him in forever. But how the hell did you guys or whoever talk him back onto the helm of Climbing Magazine?
Oh, well, okay, so
because I was like, what just happened? Matt Samet's back?
Yeah, well, so what happened was Julie Ellison took over. She went from like senior editor to editor-in-chief. It was like a big role for her, a lot of work. And so Matt Samet was working in the same publishing house. He was working as a copy editor at Yoga Journal. And we were like, oh, Matt, will you like start doing some copy editing for Climbing Magazine? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like super easy work for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was at Yoga. What was
he was at Yoga Journal. Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually,
it was him and like a staff of 12 women in Lululemon.
Right.
And he just like show up in his sweatpants. Being like, oh, dude.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, carry on.
Right. We started to get him some editing stuff. And then Julie was like, she just wanted to go freelance, work on some other projects, and not just edit the magazine, which is a super managerial role. You're not really writing so much as you're just sending emails to people about how they need to write. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, well, fuck, I'd really like to leave the magazine in better shape than I got it, and who can I hand it off to? There's such a small list of people that are capable of like editing a magazine, and then something as specific as like rock climbing. And then Sam, it was like, 300 feet away. And we're like, hey, want some candy? Right. Well, hey man, we'll give you some free sweatpants. And so he was into it.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, which is good. And I think it's also like a good position for him because he's got a couple little demons in the house and a wife, and so he needs like that stability.
The years he was here at climbing were not the most positive for him. I mean, if you go back to his interview, we talked about that was a lot of that time was the height of some of his problems. Yeah. In terms of his book and what are those? What are they called? The benzos.
Yeah, benzos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, I was just kind of like, whoa, he's back when it happened because maybe, that's a good thing. It's maybe therapeutic to come back to it in a better place. But I know it was a kind of a grim place for him when he was here. And I say here because Climbing Magazine was in Carbondale
right, yeah.
At that time. And before it started to get shuffled around to various locations over the years before it ended up where you guys are at.
Right.
Yeah. So
over in Boulder.
Yeah, over in Boulder, Colorado.
Yes.
So, yeah, and you ended up moving to Boulder, which I don't know, isn't there some betrayal of your California roots in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a divide, I feel like, between not just Colorado and California, but like Boulder specifically, which sort of exemplifies like the good and the bad of Colorado climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
was that a conflict for you?
It was really hard for me for like the first like year and a half of being there. Like I left as much as I could.
I remember you. I was like, how are you even getting anything done? You're in Yosemite again.
Yeah, I didn't. I
like
really
cut
didn't
the
like
umbilical cord from Yosemite.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like Colorado is the place where like people from the East Coast, they're going to California and they're like really psyched and they're going across and they like get through like the Midwest, and then they start going up hills, and they stop like right there at the first set of hills.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah,
except for I'm not from the East Coast, but Midwest anyway.
Right.
But yeah.
But the higher quality people, they make it over the mountains, and then they go over to the Sierras.
Okay.
And that's where like the really good mountains are.
I was like, I'll just settle for these crappy mountains here in Colorado.
And so Boulder's attracted all the crappy mountains.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from coming across the plains in my van.
Yeah. The Previa is running out of gas.
Yeah, so now you're stuck there, though. Now you're a Boulder guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got like a mortgage on wheels, and so I need a job.
Right.
And I also want to get better at climbing, and Boulder's a place where I can like maintain a job.
Right.
And go climbing. Yeah. I mean, I can like get a job in Yosemite and go climbing, but it's like it's too easy to like vortex out there.
Sure.
Like I just go into this deep, dark spiral of depression because I'm like cleaning out trash cans at 3 a.m. for like $25 an hour.
Right.
I mean, which is great money, but then it's like, you can't really spend it on anything there.
Right.
Or it's like hard to get a place and be able to afford a car.
It's hard to grow up. Is what it comes down to. Yeah, and you know, that's there may be like traps to all that, to growing up. You know, job, car, all that sort of thing. But in the end, there's a point where it crosses over. The dirtbagging crosses over to kind of a little pathetic, and also there's a danger in it in terms of it's easy to do when you're in your 20s and now you're in your 30s. But you know, we all know guys in Yosemite that they don't have anything. Their bodies are falling apart, and they're like. You know.
It's like, fuck, this is your life, and you're still like peeing in a bottle at like 11 o'clock.
Totally.
Shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is this transition, and to find your spot, and it sounds like you sort of found your spot. You've got this idea of some stability, but you still, you know, are connected and in this sort of scene. But back to this writing thing, because I think that's that's like an aspect I also didn't think about necessarily with your life, but where do you see, I mean, do you feel like that skill has a destination in terms of, do you see yourself becoming some other type of creator outside of this, you know, whether it's writing books or whether you want to start writing and doing films or
that it's actually something that I've had to start thinking about. What's my career going to be in the long term, and like how is my job at Climbing Magazine going to advance my long-term career? It's just like you want to like free climb El Capitan a day, and so you have to, what climbing am I doing right now that's going to advance my ability to free climb El Capitan? And so right now I don't know. I've gotten as far as like figuring out, okay, I can't stay in the position I'm in, and I need to figure out some bigger, longer-term goal of what I want to do, and knowing how much Climbing Magazine and writing in general will get me there. So, do you want to let's like talk about my stapler? I mean, I start like thinking about this stuff, and I'm just like,
stapler.
Yeah.
Is it a swing line?
Yeah. It's a bow stitch. I got Dave Alfrey actually sent it to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was like, good job getting a job.
Getting a desk job.
Yeah. Here's his stapler. And like, it's good. It's just like a regular 100 staple stapler. Bow Stitch also makes like these heavy duty, like commercial grade staplers.
Yeah.
But it's good I've got like a regular little red desk one, because if I had one of those, I'd probably be putting those staples into my head too. Yeah.
No, the Calouse Fortune.
Yeah.
Came from heavy duty stapling and nailing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's
nice.
True. Yeah. So
I know
all about these things. Well, no, my dad worked for a company his whole life called Duo Fast, which was a competitor of like Bow Stitch and those other ones. Yeah. So I know all about like heavy duty pneumatic nailers and staple guns and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's not that sweet, but you know, put us through college and all that sort of thing. So God bless. People need shit stapled and nailed.
Yeah. Yep. Holding the world together.
So we're going to Climbing Magazine, you know, again, I keep saying like churning it out, because it just, you know, knowing everybody at Rock and Ice here in town, like, you know, it's this like cycle.
It's a cycle. Yeah. There's the ship cycle, and you figure out your assignments, you get the drafts in, you edit them, you rework them, you get all the pictures together, boom. Like you look it over, you read through the whole thing, make sure you didn't spell climbing wrong. And then you send it out. In it. Yeah.
And then you just do it over again.
Yep. And then you do it again.
You take a breather, and you're like, all right, we're back. Or it's like overlapping, like stuff's
it's
totally
overlapping. Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of annoying. Like Julie was way more into like this wave cycle. Like, okay, we're going to work really, really hard, and then we're going to like decompress, and you've got like a week. Sam, it's just like, he's like, fucking grinder.
Like whipping, just like, tomorrow's another day.
Tomorrow's another day.
See you at 9 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, it's That's just rough. Like, I mean, the plus side to that is that I've been writing a lot more, and I've gotten better.
Right.
And it's cool to see progress and growth, but that shit is hard. It's hard to like improve at anything. If you all of a sudden you find yourself like not eating because you're like, oh,
So tell us let's go back to that a little bit.
okay.
About what you're calling your eating disorder.
Yeah, well, it's not really much of an eating disorder. But I wrote this column in the magazine, and because now that I like work in a job and I've got like a bunch of time, I can like think about this stuff. Like, how do people get better at rock climbing? And I like looked at all the people I knew who were really good at rock. Oh, Alex Honnold, Mason Earl, Nick Berry, Alex Puccio, a bunch of people. I'm like, oh, they're all super fucking skinny. Not like you can see their spines through their stomach skinny, but they look like just emaciated bodybuilders.
Yeah, they're shredded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fully shredded.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I want to become. And then looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, ooh. Oh, yeah, that guy's got some work to do.
Right.
And I mean, it's definitely been like a bit of advice that I've heard from climbers over the years.
Yeah, like your boy out in Bishop.
Yeah.
Stop eating the pies, bro.
Stop eating the pies. One time I went to Tioga Cliff with Rob Miller. He just freed a line next to the nose earlier this year. He freed the mirror wall with Justin Shong, and he's done a bunch of other stuff in the valley. And we were like climbing some hard 512 at private property. The Tioga Cliff, it's at like 10,000 feet, just on the east side of the Tuolumne Gate. And we're going back up to the car, and I'm like stuffing Cheetos in my mouth, just like so hungry. And I see Rob and pulls out this little bag of macadamia nuts. He pours some in his hand. He looks at them. He counts out 3, puts them back in the bag. I'm like, oh, Rob, how many macadamias do you eat? He's like, oh, I always eat 7. But you'd only want 4. I'm just like spitting out Cheetos.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That didn't sink in at the time.
No, I was just like kid, and I'm like, oh, fuck it, like, yeah, I can like get better without like having to really work for it, and I can eat whatever I want, and like I don't have to train. Yeah, I can just like sleep out underneath the base of the climb, and I'll get it done. And now that I've actually had some more time, I've like had some more thought about like, okay, how can I actually get better? You gotta like really work at it.
And you've dropped how many pounds?
I've lost like 15 to 20 pounds since I sent the free rider.
How long ago was that?
I think that was,
years now.
Yeah,
right?
a couple of years, 3 years, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of weight for a guy who's not. I mean, you were like, I don't know, thick for a climber. But I don't think any like, proper Midwesterner would have looked at you and they would have thought you were svelte. Like if you dropped into fucking like, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they would have been like, God, that guy's so fit.
Yeah.
So where, I mean, that seems really pretty radical to lose that much weight. Like what are the weights? Like where did you go from to what?
I was like, hovering around like 170, like 172. And
you're down to like 150.
I'm
155 or so.
I was 151.8 this morning.
Holy crap!
I'm trying to go sub 150.
Are you like super dizzy right now from like not eating or what?
No. Yeah, no, I wish. But definitely like because I haven't been a dirtbag, right? Like I've had a place. I can like cook for myself, and I've got like regular easy access to good grocery stores. And so my diet's improved dramatically.
Right. So it's like you're eating not just less, but isn't the sole thing. You're eating better food.
I'm eating better food.
Right. And are you being really scientific about it?
Not super. But I've also like learned a lot about nutrition from working at the magazine.
Right.
And editing all these articles about like the way climbers eat. So it's like I have to work with these nutritionists putting these articles together for like the how-to section. And it's like I'm learning all this stuff, and it's like, oh, cool. Well, I'm just going to start doing it. Why don't I just apply it to my life?
Well, what's like one thing that you've give me something. What do you think like is a fundamental change that somebody like myself, you know, I don't really think too much about what I eat. So what do you think like a fundamental change I could make to not just like a performance thing, but well, I guess, yeah, like for a sort of a performance thing. Cause I don't think, you know, I'm a person for whom, you know, since high school, literally, you know, my weight has fluctuated like 4 or 5 pounds. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm just as light or lighter than I was in high school. And sometimes I'm like a few pounds heavier. Yeah. So I don't know that I actually have a ton of weight to lose. I don't know where it would come from, to be honest with you. I'm pretty freaking skinny. Yeah. You're not like a big dude. No. So it's like I would have to kind of like look for some sort of nutrition changes for muscle building, for energy. So what do you got? Less beer. Fuck it. There's no way I'm going to be a better rock climber. I don't drink that much beer, actually. Yeah. I mean, I'm drinking one right now. Right. But it's more, you know, it's like the atmosphere. I'm ready for it in the RV. But that's good. I'll take that. Don't eat super late at night. Really? Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm a big late night cereal guy. Yeah. Yeah. Not super sugary. Mm-hmm. You know, some Cheerios or something. Yeah. But still, you're like, I may eat and literally be like asleep like 10 minutes later. Mm-hmm. So why is that? You just don't metabolize it. Yeah, I think it's just like you're like trying to digest all this food and you're trying to sleep, and I think it like affects your sleep. Oh, really? Yeah. Huh. I sleep pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I'm also exhausted all the time. So, especially nowadays. Mm-hmm. So, what about fasting? Yeah. I'm not like... Is that part of it? Or like a one meal fast type thing? I've read about like... I'm trying to figure that out. Right. Like, I've gotten into intermittent fasting, like, just a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. You just go 18 hours. And that includes, like, your sleep time. Right. So, essentially, you, like, eat dinner at 6. Yeah. And then you go to bed at, like, 10. Mm-hmm. You wake up at 6 because you're an athlete, and then you just like have some coffee. Right, and you don't eat till like after lunchtime. Yeah, and then you eat at noon. Right. Yeah, and you're experimenting with that. It's not a big part of your regimen at this point. I've been trying it fairly regularly, seeing how it affects my bouldering, how it affects my route climbing, and it definitely makes a big difference in route climbing. Last year, I wanted to do Cosmic Debris in Yosemite, and I was just out there for a short trip. It was something I tried a bunch before I did the Freerider, and I was one hanging it a lot, and it's this 60-move power endurance crack climb. And I was like, okay, I've only got like a week here. And I want to do this route. How am I going to make it happen? And I went out there and I like top roped it once. And I was like, well, I felt a lot stronger than I had before. And so I just, I didn't eat for like a day and a half before the climb. And then, like I ate that morning, but like kept it pretty light, but just try to increase my energy levels. And then I got on the route and crushed it. I was like locking off so much harder, just a lot stronger. And I mean, I put together this, I'm like slowly working on a Yosemite bouldering guidebook. And, I got this story from Jerry Moffitt about when he did the Dominator. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh yeah, like he got like Kurt Albert to like power spot him and like hold him in the positions, and like he could slowly start to do the moves. And then his time was like running out. And so he just ate a salad and like hiked the Yosemite Falls Trail a few times, lost a few pounds, and then crushed it. Really? Yeah. Uh-huh. So we're just all too heavy. Yeah, but then like I've like had it work really well, and then I've had it like not matter at all. Right. Where it's still like, oh, I like still didn't crush, like not eating the day before didn't really help me. And so I'm trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out what conditions lead to the performance. Right. I mean, I looked at the top 20 like 8A
88.new boulders, and they have a body mass index, which is proportion of your height to your weight. It's sort of like measuring body fat, but it's harder to measure someone's body fat accurately. The top 20 88.new boulders had a BMI of about like 22.7 or so. Even now, my BMI is probably like 24. When I was climbing the freerider, it was like 26. I was like borderline overweight, according to like the national average. Okay. And then I talked to Tom Randall, who's like, oh, if you want to be like super good athlete, you want a BMI of around like 20 or so. And Tom Randall's like tested hundreds of climbers, thousands of them, kept track of all their data, how well they hang holds and like how hard they climb. And he's like, oh yeah, around 20. But when you start getting like lower than that, then you start like having health problems. And
right.
And you're
getting too skinny.
Yeah, you're getting too skinny, and it's problematic.
To be healthy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you look at all the best rock climbers, they're all super skinny.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it in terms of experimenting with all this sort of stuff.
Right. And so, I mean, it's like anything, you find like some things that work,
right? Some
things that don't. And it really depends on everybody.
What about your quality of life?
Yeah,
I mean, is it not a problem for you to not eat as much?
When I was like super dirtbag, I like didn't have any money.
Right.
And then it was like, actually the skinniest I got was like in my earliest days of dirtbagging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I just couldn't afford food.
Right.
And then I got like super skinny, and I was actually climbing really well then. Like when I look back at my like climbing logs, and I'm like, oh, this is what I did. It's like really good. As probably I was climbing as well then as I am now. And I seem to be putting like less effort into it. But then I started to like have a little more money and like buy some more food because I can. Now my quality of living is like pretty good.
You were like a res dog. You know, you had known the lean times.
Yeah.
So now you were going to like pack some food on just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah.
Like, somebody sent you back.
Yeah. And now it's like, okay, like I feel secure enough in my life and like in my financial situation that I'm not just going to end up groveling somewhere and like, well, I have money for food.
Right. So,
okay, now I have like
you can comfortably pass up a meal now.
Yeah.
Before it was like, I'm not passing up that fucking meal.
Yeah, it's
you like, got food, I'm eating it.
Yeah, it's like you can't pass up an opportunity to like work or like, you know, you can't. Oh, somebody's like, I could catch a ride to Tuolumne to go like climb at Peawack. Oh, okay, like let's go. Now I'd be like, oh well, what's the weather like up there? Like, oh, it's snowing. Okay. Yeah, dude.
No, I'm not going.
Yeah, I've got my own car.
Right.
Thanks.
You have this relationship with a professional climber. You guys are sort of a power couple of climbing.
Yeah.
Has that had an influence on this, or this is all internal? This like desire to climb harder.
This is it's all internal, and I'm probably dating a professional climber because I want to climb harder.
Right.
Right. Like that's probably like I sought that a little bit. Like, oh, I want a partner that climbs a lot. Like not a climbing partner, but like a life partner. And so it's like, oh, okay.
Do you guys like work on all this stuff together in terms of meal times and eating the same thing, or are you guys on different programs in terms of your diet?
No, we're actually like a lot on the same program.
Right.
Yeah, which makes it a lot easier.
For sure.
Because it'll be like...
Yeah, like you're not just eating some sloppy, delicious burger while she's over there pecking at, you know, some salad or something like that.
It's like, so it's something we can both do.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, hey, I read like, oh, you should have a high protein meal in 3 a.m. 5 times a week. And she'll be like, oh, well, do you think that really helps your rock climbing? I'm like, yeah. Like, let's wake up at midnight and have a cheeseburger at 3 a.m. And then you'll be like, okay, like, cool, I'll do it. And then you've got a partner in crime to work on with like your horrible ideas.
Is that a real thing? Or did you just make that up?
I just made that up.
Okay, good. I'm glad I clarified that. 'Cause someone's out there taking notes right now. Just like, wow, that sounds like a great idea.
No. We shouldn't have said I made it up. If you're out there listening, send me pictures of your burger.
Yeah, but at 3 a.m. Just like fully eyes half open, just like eating some big sloppy fucking cheeseburger.
Make sure there's
kitchen.
a clock in the background.
Exactly. That sounds horrible. Like you couldn't possibly get me to eat a burger at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you guys, anybody gives it a try, let us know how it works.
I mean, so it is pretty helpful, like dating a professional climber that like helps me like want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And also having a job is kind of helpful because I've got limited time, so I have to maximize it.
Because that was the other thing that, I think is a trap of dirtbagging is like a laziness.
Yeah, you have too much time on your hands.
You're like, hey, we can do this another time, and we can go and like, we can just kind of waste the day at the crag.
Right.
Like just farting around, doing some routes I've already done before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the dirtbag thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just go lap some shit you got wired.
Right.
And then drink beer at like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
Or climb stuff in a wig.
Right.
Like all these, like they're all these like kind of like tried and true, I guess, cliches of like dirtbagginess is, but they're also really just avoiding like trying hard in this weird way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, like I said, out always like some angle to the climbing, like, oh, we're going to drink 10 beers and climb.
Yeah.
Or we're going to like all wear spandex today.
Yeah.
Or we're all going to like wear wigs today. Or, it's like, well, how about you just like go and try really hard today?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Oh, no.
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 No, that's not.
Not for me.
No, that's like bad for your chi or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. But again, like to hear all this coming out of your mouth, it's kind of wild because for whatever dumb reason, you're like the king of the dirtbags.
Yeah, I know.
And you're not at all. You live in Boulder and you have a job and you like are dieting like a maniac to try to climb harder.
Yeah.
Like all those things are not dirtbaggy at all.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Plus, you're driving a freaking new ProMaster.
Yeah.
I mean, you're breaking hearts right now.
Yeah, probably.
Out there. For sure. What do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, man. I'm climbing harder. I've got a huge van. I've got a girlfriend. Sounds better than being a dirtbag to me.
Yeah, amen. Amen to that. Let me ask you a couple more questions about Climbing Magazine. So, do you feel like, part of your job is obviously to pay attention, to see what's going on in the world of climbing. I actually often, get in touch with you and I have some weird question about something that's going on out there in the world.
How significant is the South Bay Headwall?
Yeah, right. Was that one of them?
I think so.
No, it was wasn't it about people skipping the ear pitch? Yeah, that was my beef.
Yeah.
With
which is what everybody does.
Yeah. No one climbs the 513 above the ear.
Right.
Which was the original line, and it also was the original free ascent.
Right.
Climbed that.
Yeah.
And I was actually wondering if you knew like which free ascents had done that and which hadn't. And basically
there's like 2 or 3 that have done that, and then like dozens that haven't.
And the skipping of that is through the Monster Off-Withs,
right?
Which are technically a part of a route called Bermuda Dunes,
right?
Yeah, but not the South Bay Wall.
Yep.
So it just seems like it's kind of something that was shuffled under the rug.
Yeah. Let's just skip the crux.
Yeah. And it was. I mean, it's like as hard as the head wall in terms of grade.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Harder.
Someone said something to me recently that a hold broke on it.
The head wall?
No, on that pitch.
Oh.
But that sounds fishy to me.
Yeah, that
sounds like
fishy.
one of those excuses that you're just like, that's too hard. So,
yeah, I'm sure. If you need an excuse for not free climbing hard enough, there's lots of them on El Cap.
Yeah, I'm tired from hauling.
Yeah.
Is like the number one. But anyway, so back to my question was that, like, what are your kind of ideas of like trends in climbing that are happening right now? And Can you kind of like being at this sort of a centerpiece of like information coming into climbing, and it's kind of your job to pay attention.
Right.
Like, what do you think? I mean, where are we headed?
There's more money in climbing. And I think that's come a lot from climbing gyms, the indoor circuit, and competitions, and the Olympics. That'll play a big part of it. But then also there's a lot more like mass media coming out. There's the Donwall movie. Mm-hmm. There's, Meru. There's like, the new Alex Honnold Doesn't Fall Bouldering El Cap movie. There's more money in rock climbing now. And that's probably like the biggest change. And it's affecting average climbers in that there's just more resources available. Everything from like more money's being put into making cams lighter. And so all of a sudden your rack is getting lighter, mm-hmm. which means it's easier for you to climb trad. There's a new gym opening up, and there's like a better training area. There's more facilities. There's like a daycare there. So if you're a parent, you can bring your kid there, climb more. Or if you're like a dirtbag, you'll be able to go in there.
Use the shower.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. There's like just more resources available for everybody because there's more money in it, because there's more climbers. Places get crowded. There's more people you don't want to see.
Yeah.
And so like, I think the longer you climb, the less that really matters, because you realize you're capable of going somewhere else. You know, you're not like stuck climbing the first Flatiron for the rest of your life. You can leave Boulder, go to Rifle, and climb at the project. Well,
yeah. There's no crowds there. That'll really clean it out for sure. Well, right on, James. Thanks for sitting down, man.
Yeah.
Part 3 of your continuing saga. Quite a few changes since. Yeah. Shit, how long has it been?
I don't know.
I mean, 3-4 years since your last episode.
Yeah.
So, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
So,
I got a girlfriend. I better give my girlfriend a shout out.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Nina. She's in Yosemite right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she took my van. She took the portaledge. She took like the stack line, and she's like off in Yosemite climbing on Father Time with Katie Lambert.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, she left me with the crash pads.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a change.
Yeah.
As well.
Big changes.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of pro dogs out there in Yosemite at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like you gotta have some portaledge shots in your social media, or I don't think you get your contract renewed.
Yeah, no.
It's just basically like you gotta be up on the Captain or up on some route where you can talk about the sunsets from the portaledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they're like, beat it, we don't need you anymore.
It's pretty much like the Anunnaki or Scarface photo of pros.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm headed out there myself.
I want to see some portaledge shots.
Oh, I am like gonna be a content creating machine.
Nice.
On El Cap. That's the whole thing. I like, if anybody, by the time this comes out, this adventure will be over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this will be in the past. But if I catch you doing some dumbass shit up there on the South Bay Wall, like aid climbing the Hollow Flake with a pair of Valley Giants, I will fucking slander you to death on the Enormocast. So I hope I didn't see that. I just hope I didn't see that. I've heard about it.
Oh man.
I just hope to God I don't see something like that.
It's the same people who wear their rock shoes into the bathrooms at the gyms.
It's probably is, actually. But yeah, I can't handle that stuff. I'm really worried, actually. I'm worried about, it's been since 2008 since I've been to the Valley.
Oh, I think you'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thanks, Khalees.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening, and thanks to James for sitting down. Sorry it took so long to put that one out. Apologize, James, but still relevant, still going on, still steady there in Boulder at Climbing Magazine. Also, it's kind of funny because I realized that I put it out before I went and climbed El Cap, subject of another podcast from back in June, I believe. And I was talking a little smack there in the end about the hollow flake, and then it turns out that I climbed it on a mini traction as it was getting dark and there was a fixed rope on it and some guys rapping down it. I just jumped on the mini traction and got it done. So anyway, that's what happens when you talk shit. Sometimes it comes back on you a little bit. But I'd let it in the past, so I didn't feel too bad about skipping it. Okay, folks, 2018's at its finish, and we made it. A couple more days. By the time you listen to this, probably well into 2019. So let's make 2019 a year we survive as well. Accident-free for you and for me. First thing you can do, of course, is check your knot. Every time.
There's more to life than just rock climbing. Yeah. Eventually I'll grow up. I hope so. But more than that, I hope that someone's there to take my place, to continue the dirtbag dream.